Just wait a couple of minutes.
You say that and then you wait like 15 seconds. You're like, well, so we better get started.
I know.
You know how big my head looks compared to yours?
Thing is, this is well annoying that when you're watching the replay and you click on it and you're waiting for like a minute till someone actually starts talking.
What, till you start talking? Or we start talking?
Or whoever I'm watching.
Yeah, I'll click off. But bye.
Yeah.
I'm patient.
Right, hello and welcome to episode 4 of our Open Conversation series. Today we're going to be talking about the reasons why you might not want to explore some of your sexual desires in a relationship.
Or in general.
Yeah,
Really?
in general.
Yeah.
Well, for me, sort of growing up, some of you all know that I grew up as a Jehovah's Witness, and any of you that have been involved in any sort of religion or are involved in any sort of religion, I'm pretty sure that a lot of them create a lot of shame around sex and masturbation and anything to do with sexual desires, and sex is really used for either reproduction or I don't even know whether they advocate sex for pleasure after marriage. But anyway, it created a really poor relationship for me around sex and sort of self-exploration. It was just seen as basically a sin. And I think that a lot of our upbringings will condition us to have a lot of shame around sex.
Do you know what? Just to butt in. I also think, obviously religion especially, but I think even when you're at school, maybe like high school years or whatever, there's a lot of double standards. I think there even are now, still to some degree, especially like gender-based. There's a lot of, oh my gosh, well if a guy slept with this many people, what an absolute catch, what a guy.
Yeah.
Like, that is so, what a bravado. And like, if it's a woman, it's like, oh my god, she slept with everyone. No one wants someone to sleep with everyone.
Yeah, see, I was listening to a podcast the other day and they were basically saying that, I'm sure you've heard it, that the whole sort of how many dates should you go on with someone until you sleep with them, well, you're basically putting your worth on sex almost as if it's like a reward. Like you wait to reward that person with your body, which your body should never really be used like that. There's a lot of poor messages and stuff out there about sex that will condition us to believe that it can be possibly wrong, some of the desires that we have. Most of my life sort of growing up, I had a weird relationship with sex, and I would always find ways to give myself confidence, especially using alcohol and drugs. And unless I was either drunk or under the influence of normally cocaine or whatever else, I wouldn't feel like I had the confidence to explore any of the sexual desires that I had. What?
Nothing.
Okay, so what's your opinion then?
What, on sex as a whole?
Well, just anything.
I'm gonna go with sex as a whole, to be honest. I think that, well, when I was younger, I'm not exactly old, but it's very society-based and family-based, and your friends and all of your ideas and definitions. Like, nobody, when you're young, you're inquisitive, but you don't know anything. You take everything that everyone says on face value, and obviously, who really knows? Like,
Yeah.
I always thought, sex is something where it's special. You're meant to share it with someone special, and you're not meant to give your body up to people and whatever. But I think that the more that we've like progressed in speaking and communicating and things like that, it's just become more apparent that actually, yes, sex is special. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that it's not, But I think it's so much more than just being special with your one partner. Like, I'm not saying people have to have multiple partners, but I think it's very important just to, I don't know, just be able to explore it on your own.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even just about reproduction and what have you.
I think probably from like going through the education system, like in school, like having sex education, you're not actually taught that sex is pleasurable. You're taught about the dangers around sex, and as a child, that almost sort of sets you up to fail.
School very much tells you, if you're going to have sex, these are the consequences.
Yeah.
And when you're an adult, and only when you're an adult, you will produce a child, and that is literally the only reward of having sex.
Yeah.
That is pretty much the message of it.
Yeah.
Sex education at school will send out to you. They don't.
Or they
ever,
scaremonger, and they basically say all about STIs
you're
and
going to
things
get
like
AIDS
that.
and you're going to die.
Yeah, I mean, we were speaking the other day. Like, I don't know how the education system should combat this. I don't know what the answer is, but I think there should be some education around sex for pleasure and giving yourself permission to explore your own sexual desires and not be seen, not for it to be seen as like seedy or something that you shouldn't be doing, because realistically, like in a relationship, if you don't explore your own body and aren't curious and take sort of steps to actually explore your own desires, then how the fuck can you expect your partner to pleasure you?
I think you just kind of like, or I think for me anyway, I think you kind of just, you go along with, like you, I
The
don't
norms.
know. Yeah, you think, oh, well, because you don't have a lot of experience, you just think, this is what I'm meant to like, and then suddenly you're like, oh, well, that's it, that's what I like, but actually, you don't.
Like, I think there's
It's not
there's a lot of negatives, or porn, for instance, has been given a negative rap, but realistically, like, it's quite a good way to sort of explore some of the desires that you have or the curiosities, and that's something that you can do on your own. But I do think there needs to be some sort of talk from, I don't know, maybe parents or the school, so you don't feel like what you're curious about is wrong.
Yeah, even if it's not like, educating children or young people on every single desire that's out there, because obviously there's loads and loads and loads, and people will think that society will condition you to think that a lot of desires are weird, but they're not. Like, a lot of the time, I'll hear people even my own age, or maybe even older, will literally laugh at, I don't know, some people that are into like foot fetishes and things like that. Like, oh yeah, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, it's nothing personal to you. Like, if you're not into that, that's fine. But I think maybe, not to educate young people, but just to confirm that actually things that you might think, oh, I might like that.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's not forbidden. Like, it's not.
No.
It's not anything that you should be ashamed about.
No.
I think that's really important.
I know in my last 2 relationships and other sexual partners, I haven't felt like I can share exactly like all my sexual desires, pretty much through fear of, I think we have this weird thing where we almost sort of create a version of ourselves that we think is more lovable than who we truly are. And then when we start to get even more curious about certain parts of our personality that we want to explore, then we can either sit down and communicate with your partner and actually have a conversation about some of the things that you're curious about, which also might trigger them to be able to give them permission and speak about what they want to explore, or you can do what a lot of people do, not just men. You can cheat. And I know personally, from personal experience, one of the reasons why I did cheat was because it's easier to explore a sexual desire with someone that you're not emotionally invested in than it is with someone that you are emotionally invested in, because you have this fear that you're going to lose that person by communicating this desire or this curiosity that you have. You feel like by telling them what it is, then you're almost sort of leaving yourself vulnerable to them leave you.
But the thing is, even if you don't tell them you do cheat, you're still at the same risk, if not greater, of losing the person that you love, because you haven't even given them a chance.
No,
I'm not going, oh my god, you didn't give them a chance, but I mean, like,
no,
everyone, like, you didn't even give them a chance to understand.
And that's actually unfair, because you're assuming that your partner isn't ready to receive that you want to communicate with them.
Yeah, almost like you're superior.
Yeah, like, it is. It's sort of looking down at your partner, going, "You're not ready for what I'm about to tell you." Well, you don't know that until you sit down and actually communicate.
Yeah.
Which is why communication in a relationship is so fucking important, because if you don't communicate, you're not really being seen as an individual, which actually takes away from a deep connection. And if you don't have a deep connection, then you can't really love each other, because you don't know who each other are.
You're not really together.
No, you're portraying a version of yourselves that is more easily lovable than who you truly are, and after a while that becomes hard to keep up, because the longer you suppress something in your personality, the more it will want to come out, and eventually it will.
It might not even be in the right way.
Talking about anything other than the normality and safe sex is seen as taboo for some reasons. They just don't talk about it. There's so many subjects that are seen as taboos, and it creates a huge amount of fear around them. And when people are scared of something, they'll end up mocking other people. Like you said, like people will take the piss out of someone for wanting to explore something, or they have explored something. I mean, normally it's immature kids, 18, 19-year-olds, whatever.
The thing is, even say 18, 19, whatever, even there are some older people.
Oh yeah.
The things that people also laugh about, like I know, like, especially nights out, I'll hear like guys and whatever laughing about things like BDSM and just really, really normal things, like I don't know, like, what are they? The gags, are they ball gags?
Yeah.
What are they called?
Yeah.
Like just things like that, and whips, and they're laughing, but it's like, but you do that. Yeah.
I think that, and also, when you get like fucking groups of immature lads and like, oh, I fucked her up the arse, I've done this, I've done that. Like, well, something that should really, I mean, it doesn't have to be private, but it shouldn't be something that you do with someone, like a sexual partner.
Just so you can brag about it.
Yeah, just so you can brag about it. Because then it creates even more disconnection from people wanting to explore what they want to explore.
It will just encourage the fact that actually
this isn't normal.
Yeah.
When anything and everything is as normal as you perceive it to be. And the longer that you withdraw something from your partner, the worse it will be when it eventually does come out.
I mean, I'm not saying, like, obviously I listened to something the other day, and I'm not saying, like, we're not saying that you should run home and say, oh my god, basically, Lisa, I love this, and oh god, I want to tie you up to the bed and everything. Like, that's not even that wild. I couldn't think of anything more wild. But I think if you have allowed yourself permission to feel the thing that you are excited about and that you want to explore, and you've given yourself that permission, I think as long as you approach your partner in the right way, I don't think that you can particularly go too wrong. They might not agree, or they might not like what you've said, and that's fine, but I think you should approach your partner and say, I'm about to share something with you that is a very big deal to me, and it's going to put me in a vulnerable position. Do you think that you're ready to be in this position with me? Rather than just throwing it out there, like, and then your partner's so like taken back and it's like, well, where did that come from?
Yeah, and then you'll blame your partner when actually you haven't really gave him any chance or warning.
Approaching it with like just sort of compassion and just from a place of love, and just showing how vulnerable you actually are, may even encourage your partner to step out of their shadow and say, do you know what, actually, for a while I've been feeling like this. Like, you will never know. If no one is willing to say something first, you will never know. Just out of fear.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I think a lot of the time, you know, when I say not many people might not admit it, but a lot of people do have, you know, their own sexual preferences that might not be considered society's, you know, missionary
norm,
or doggy or whatever.
What? All right. This is an uncomfortable question, but what would you do, for instance, if I came to you with something that I wanted to explore, but you wasn't really interested in or didn't really want to? How would you go about it personally?
I think the wording is like, it's different. I think if I wasn't interested, I think I would give it a go. If I thought I wasn't, how can you know if you're not interested if you haven't attempted it? But if I genuinely didn't want to and I was like, no, thank you, I would just say, I've heard you. I respect what you desire, and that's fine. It's just not personally for me. I hope you're not offended that I don't want to partake. Yeah. Sort of. But I don't know. You'd have to approach it very sensitively.
Because I think that's, I know for me, that was the biggest fear, that something that I possibly wanted to experience basically being rejected or sort of looked at as like weird. That is my biggest fear, and I'm sure for like most of you out there, that is also why you choose, or you often choose to not communicate your sexual desires with your partner. I mean, it's easy, or was easy for me, to go out, get off my head and do whatever with whoever, because there's no emotional attachment there. And it, as harsh as this sounds, it really doesn't matter whether or not they're into it or they like it or think it's weird, because their opinion isn't really valid to you.
Yeah, the thing is, when you're telling your partner, or you know, your friend or whoever you're telling, you're not telling them because you want them to validate your desire. You're not telling them because you want them to tell you that's okay or that's normal. You're only sharing with them, probably mainly your partner, because you want them to just know the vulnerable side of you, not because you want them to confirm that you're not strange. If you've given yourself enough permission to allow what you think you might like before you've tried it, or if you know you like it, you already know that that's okay.
Yeah.
And that's okay within you, so it doesn't matter if it's not okay within your partner, because if it's not okay within your partner, and you know, heaven forbid you do break up or whatever, there was a reason. And that's, you know, really harsh to say, oh, if you break up there was a reason for it, but there's
but at least then you will actually be able to explore the things that you want to explore, find yourself, and then you will actually attract someone and connect with someone on a much deeper level. And it might sound selfish, but if you flip it on its head, you're actually holding your partner back from having the same experience and the same deep connection that you want. I think that sometimes sex is sort of put like right up here, that it's like the end goal with someone, and it's magical and it's like amazing, and
I don't know. I know what I was gonna say, but I don't know. I'm not bashing like anyone else. I like you just said about, you know, people say, oh, you know, it's amazing and it should be really special with just one person, and you should be married and you should only do that to have children and whatever. I think, obviously I'm still relatively young, but I think the most magical in the most non-cringy way, like times have been when I've been able to just be comfortable and just be completely open and naked,
Yeah.
if you like, as myself. Like,
Vul-
it's not been magical. It wasn't magical.
it's what is magical is vulnerability,
Yeah.
and when you're almost, I mean, given permission, you sort of give yourself permission, but when you feel like you've got permission from your partner to be completely vulnerable, that, to me, in my personal experience, is when it creates the deepest connection that you'll ever have. Because you're no longer living in fear that you can't show up as who you are. And I know, you hear things that true intimacy isn't having sex with someone, but actually, if you can have sex with someone that you love in a way that you've always wanted to, without fear or judgment, that, to me, I would say is the deepest level of intimacy that you can get to. Because, I mean, going back to the physical, like, when, as a male, when you have sex with a female, you are literally inside each other. Like, you're two individuals become one person. And if you can do that with someone that allows you permission to be completely vulnerable, that, to me, that's when I've felt the most loved by you and the most that I've loved you. Like, there's been things that I've shared with you that I don't feel like I can't share with you. And
I feel like I shared a massive moment with you.
should we talk about it?
You can put it in so many words if you want. I don't know how to word it about, basic.
Yeah, this is something that actually we're sort of going to save for the written word, because I think it'll be more powerful.
Yeah.
But in not so many words, the first day, where were we driving back from? We were in the car driving back from somewhere.
Toby Carvery.
Of course, food. So we were driving back from Toby Carvery, and I can't really remember how the conversation started. Can you?
I think we were listening to a podcast or something.
Yeah, we were.
And
I think it was a Jay Shetty one.
Yeah,
actually.
and I think it was on the topic of love and just loving someone, or I don't know.
Yeah.
It was something.
Something to do with love, on a Jay Shetty podcast. And at that moment, I felt so vulnerable, but almost like I couldn't hold it back anymore. And I can't remember exactly what was said on the podcast or whatever, but when I heard it, it was almost like he was speaking to me to sort of step up and actually express how I'm truly feeling, rather than trying to sort of hide it or play the game, as it were. When you're sort of seeing someone, you feel like, I can't say that yet, or I can't be this way yet. That's too much. There's like ridiculous rules around dating. And in that moment, I just felt so overwhelmed that I had to tell you. I was like, I love you. And then
I was actually reclined in my seat.
I know, you were like, what?
Me?
Actually, I think you were in a little bit of a food coma. I don't think you were too bothered, to be honest.
I was in a food coma, I was hungover, and my seat was all the way back. Barely listening. I was like,
But then on the way back, we ended up, this is when I was living at the gym, so we ended up going back, put something on Netflix, laid on the sofa, had a cuddle, one thing led to another, and in that moment, I personally don't think we ever made love before, and this was going on for I don't know what.
Months, like 9 months.
Yeah.
Because we didn't get together long after.
We were having sex.
Yeah.
I mean, I almost said just having sex. It wasn't just having sex, but we were having sex. Well, after I said that I loved you, and we went upstairs, and one thing led to another, when we actually made love, it was, I mean, it wasn't, I don't want it to sound like it was this like really completely different version of how sex normally is, because it wasn't really.
It wasn't, no.
But it was emotional, and it brought us closer together.
Yeah.
And in that moment, it was just,
I just think it's indescribable, to be honest.
yeah, it was. I mean, we will write about it because we can't really put it into.
It was just incredibly overwhelming. Like afterwards, we just kind of laughed.
I know.
We just laughed. We didn't know what to do. We were like,
No.
did that just happen?
I mean, I literally, like, this might sound fucking cringy, but after, I could remember getting up and like high-fiving you. I was so overwhelmed and happy. And should we say?
I think we should, because I don't feel
Yeah.
like we're really getting it. Like, we're
So-
laughing and thinking, oh my god, it was amazing. They're like,
Before this moment, like, you'd never experienced an orgasm, had you?
No.
Well, from me expressing how I felt about her and telling her I loved her and how much I loved her, to then making love, and instantly the connection and the intimacy was so much deeper that you finally, probably, I don't know, I would find it really frustrating, but obviously, as you used to say, like, if you've never had something, then
Can't miss it.
you can't miss it.
Yeah.
But for you to have an orgasm after the fact that we had a conversation around us both loving each other was by far one of the most special moments that I think probably in my whole life, and I don't mean that negatively to anyone else, but it was just an experience that I'd never had before, and it really just proves that emotions and not addressing certain emotions and not allowing yourself to feel certain emotions, sort of trying to block them away, has such a negative impact on your physical body that when you're in a relationship with someone, you have a duty to not only to yourself but to your partner to express who you truly are and all your emotions and all your vulnerabilities and all your sexual desires, because that's when you're truly seen, and that's when you can actually fall in love with that person rather than fall in love with a version of that person.
I feel like in that moment, the last 9 months or however long, I think it was 9 months, I feel like they just all spilled out.
Yeah,
It's like
it was.
all just kind of just, like, you know, like when you see like those spiritual sort of like cartoon kind of pictures, and there's like a person, and then there's just this light coming out of them. I felt like
Yeah.
that, to be honest. It just kind of.
It was
Oh.
like
We've just-
overwhelming. It was. I've never experienced something like that before, but it
To be fair,
instant.
we talk a lot, and we were like speechless.
Yeah,
Like,
I honestly, like, we looked at each other and we were like, just with a huge grin on our faces, didn't know what the fuck to do or say, and I was like, what just fucking happened? It was, as I say, we are going to write about it because I
I
feel
don't
like,
think we've done it justice.
no, we haven't, and I don't think you can verbally,
No,
because it
no.
was just, it was so powerful.
Might you put on that?
I can't remember where we were now.
It was powerful.
Yeah,
But we're going to write about it anyway.
yeah.
Because we're just going to keep waffling about how amazing we felt. And we're like, oh,
I know.
that was so good. And everyone's just thinking,
I just think that the reason why we don't want to explore all of our desires with our partner is through fear of losing them. But actually, if you go about it the right way and, like you said, start the conversation, I don't like the term safe place, but basically when you're both ready to receive it and hear it and, you know, communicate, and then you can really learn who your partner is, and it gives you permission to share the things that you haven't shared. And I remember me saying to you for months, like, the one thing that scares me about a relationship is the fear of claustrophobia, because I suppose in my past experiences and stuff, I haven't ever truly felt like I could sort of step into who I am. And I said to Jen last time I spoke to her, like, this relationship is giving me more freedom than I've ever had, even when I was single. Because when you're single, you're still trying to almost portray a version of yourself that you think people might like, or might appeal to certain people that you find attractive or whatever. But once you drop all that bullshit and you can actually sit in front of your partner and have the opportunity to be vulnerable, it creates the experience that we had.
I think it just it deepens the connection with your partner, and you know, the love you have for your partner, or not even for your partner, but just for your relationship. But I think
for yourself.
Yeah, but I'll say most importantly, after that, obviously that moment, it was really special between us, and it was special, and it is special. But it had also allowed me to encourage myself to actually think, you know, your body is your body, and it's okay to do whatever it is that you want to do, and if you want to explore that, there's no shame around it.
Yeah.
I think that moment obviously gave me a lot of confidence, to be honest. I mean I don't think I was ever unconfident with you, but like it just took it to a whole new level for our relationship and for me.
I just love the fact now that
Please don't say something weird.
no, I'm not. That you're not ashamed to explore what you want to explore now. Like, I know in that moment you've obviously sort of gave yourself permission, and that is one of the most freeing things that you can give yourself. Anyway, I think we'll wrap it up because
we've got to go.
Yeah. So yeah, when it comes to being vulnerable and communicating all your sexual desires with your partner and partners, it doesn't have to just be one. Think about how you're going to start the conversation and what you're expecting the outcome of the conversation to be, because you know, your partner might not be willing or ready to explore something that you want to explore.
I think you need to be 100%, or maybe even if not 100, but you need to be. I think, like, I don't know what the word is. I think you just need to know that is really what you want. That's what you desire, and you'll be able to stand your ground on it. Even if your partner doesn't agree. Yeah. Because as soon as you're sure but kind of not sure, and then your partner looks at you like you're a creep, and you're like, and then you're suddenly like, oh no, actually, well, it's not a big deal. I didn't mean that, and then you go straight back to where
falling
you were,
back into the
and then
routine.
Why did you even bring it up?
Yeah.
Sort of thing. I think you need to be obviously prepared that your partner might not react the way that you want, but know that that's okay because you have accepted what you desire or what you might like. And you've accepted it within yourself, that you don't need your partner to validate it for you. Yeah,
and you have to ask yourself a couple of questions. First of all, you have to ask yourself, are these sexual desires that you want to explore something that you're not willing to compromise on if your partner doesn't want to explore them? Firstly, that's the most important question you have to ask yourself. And secondly, if your partner wants to explore something that you don't want to explore, but you want them to explore something that they don't want to explore, you have to come to some sort of compromise, and it's trying to meet in the middle. So you have to ask yourself, what are your boundaries? What do you actually want from the conversation, and what are you willing to compromise on? Because without them things, you're going into the conversation blind, and that can cause disagreements and arguments, and that could turn into a breakdown of the relationship. Yeah,
I just think one last really important thing is, if you're going to approach your partner about it, I think you need to take acknowledgement that you cannot place any expectation on your partner. You cannot say, or not that you might not even say it,
They
but
don't
I
owe
think
you anything.
Yeah, you can't say, oh well, you're not going to do that for me. You would do that if you love me.
Yeah. Oh,
Not
fucking can't stand that term.
everyone is the same, and your partner is not going to be everything that you desire them to be. So all of these posts on social media that say
Your partner will do anything for you if they love you.
anything and everything.
Yeah, it's bullshit.
No, it doesn't work like
You're supposed to love you, and you don't even do everything for you.
that. Exactly.
I think that if, for instance, like what you were just saying, if you want to explore something and your partner doesn't, but they've explored something that you wanted to, you can't say, oh, well, I've done that, so now you've got to do that.
Yeah, no.
You have to be really careful about the conversation and how you approach
You'll
it.
be very sensitive.
Yeah. But the reward is huge because you're allowing yourself to be seen, whether or not the conversation goes the way you want it to go. It will still be empowering.
And I think as much as people think they love their partner, and people say, oh, I've never been more in love with you, and I think that's quite just a generic sort of statement, really. I think when you experience something where you've shown your absolute all and you've experienced
True
a very
vulnerability.
special moment, that's when you really realise, like, oh my god, I do.
I fucking love
really
this person.
that person.
Yeah.
I think it's not weird, but it's just like it's strange how you think you can love something so much and then something even greater happens.
I know.
And you're like, oh my gosh, how did I think that limitation, that was love, and there could be nothing beyond it.
That's why, like I've said to you, in our relationship, I don't want to hold back on anything. I want to explore everything because you can go deeper and deeper and deeper into your relationship and create a connection that you might not have even thought possible if you actually communicate and allow each other to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
We really better wrap this up now because oh, gotta go. Yeah, if you've got any questions, obviously leave them in the comments section. We have set up a YouTube page, so we will be uploading all the videos onto YouTube. But other than that, we're going to leave it there. Have a nice evening.